Some of the content covered may be graphic in nature. Viewer discretion is advised.
All right, this one might be a lob. I'm not really sure what you guys think of this, but have you guys ever heard the legend of Resurrection Mary?
I don't think so.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was it? Did you have something?
No.
Okay. I thought you were like,
I was scratching my nose.
He was like,
yeah. This story sucks already. All right. So anyway, back in 1930s, around Chicago area, mainly around Archer Avenue and Resurrection Cemetery, there's been sightings of a woman in a white dress. Appeared to be real until she mysteriously vanishes. The first sighting was Jerry Paulus in 1939, and he saw her in a dance hall. Was with her all night, danced with her all night, had a great time, was going to escort her home. And what happened was she gave her a ride home, got down to Archer Avenue. She got out in front of the car, in front of the cemetery gates, and just disappeared. Another story happened in 1973. This woman appeared twice at the nightclub called Harlow's. She danced alone most of the night, and although every bouncer checked every ID, no one recalls her coming in or out of the club. So, just another really weird one. 1973, in a bar or across the street from the cemetery, a cab driver came in looking pissed off because he gave somebody a ride and he thought somebody skipped out on the fare. Described it and it was that woman. Wow. Another incident where the police were called to an accident where somebody thought that they had hit somebody and run. This woman was in tears. And the police went and did their investigation. And this woman was crying. She couldn't find the body. She hit somebody. But in the grass, there was an impression of the body where there was no body left.
Whoa.
wow.
What? Yeah.
Is this also got to do with like the woman in white?
Yeah, this is.
Okay, so it's the same thing?
Yes.
Oh, I've heard of that, though.
Yes.
I've heard of that.
In 1979, a cab driver picked up a woman and in a white party dress and matching shoes. As he drove down Archer, she told him to stop the car, and when he did, she disappeared. This is a quote from him in his story. A couple of miles up there, she jumped up with the start like a horse and said, "Here, here." I hit the brakes, I looked around and didn't see no kind of house. "Where?" I said. And then she sticks her arm out and points across the road to my left and says, "There." And when it happened, I looked to my left like this at this little shack. And when I turned, she was gone, vanished, and the car door never opened. May the good Lord strike me dead, it never opened. So, a lot of people have seen this woman. People have hit this woman. She's taken rides from people. It's really a scary story.
Anything like recent, or is the late 70s the most recent? Like, is it still going on? Weird stuff there around there?
Here, actually, you know what? In 1976, a couple reported seeing a young woman locked inside the cemetery from the gates. When the police got back there, they looked at the gates, and in the gates, there was burned handprints to where she was holding the gates.
Wow.
Yeah, that's really fucking creepy.
So that kind of lends credence to the iron hurts ghosts kind of thing?
Yeah. So, like, yeah, I never heard that. What's that?
I never heard that.
That's just one of those, like, one of those things where, if you're being attacked by a ghost, you need iron to defend yourself. Or like how people use salt circles.
Yeah.
Or salt lines.
Yeah, no, it says when the police went back to search, they had found the bars on the front gate had been burned, but the burns were shaped like handprints.
That is,
that's creepy.
In 1996, see here, Chet Pruinsky was leaving the bar at around 4 in the morning. A man came running inside and told Chet that he needed to use the telephone. He excitedly explained that he had just run over a girl on Archer and now he couldn't find the body. Chet was skeptical about the man's story until the truck driver confirmed the whole thing. He had also seen the same girl but stated that she had vanished, like a ghost. The police came to investigate, but surprisingly they found no trace. So, yeah, a lot of times this woman was hit or she got into a car and she disappears, but it's always right around the same spot.
And something, when someone says they think they hit, nobody is going to take a chance of calling the police and filing a fake report. If these people really thought they hit somebody.
No, absolutely not.
And I am a skeptic on a lot of things when it comes to paranormal. But whenever the police are called into something, that always makes me wonder then. Whenever a police officer has to investigate or if they're called, because if somebody's going through all that, they're getting the police involved. That's a pretty serious thing when you call the police for something, So it makes me wonder, and I'm a big skeptic, but on ghosts. But that is amazing.
I feel bad for these poor cab drivers. They think that they're picking up and going to make some money, and then they're out money.
Right. And they're also out the person.
Yeah, no. And this poor guy thinks that he's going to go home and take some chick home, and then she ends up disappearing on him.
Probably not the first time.
Yeah, he's probably a dork. They did an episode of Unsolved on this, and I thought of this story right around Halloween. I thought it was creepy. Imagine picking somebody up, and you're having a conversation with them, and all of a sudden they just disappear.
I would think that I was needed to go into the nut house. If something like that happened.
I wish I could get the people around me to disappear.
Yeah, you're doing a good job.
No, I think if that's actually the same thing, like the whole woman in white thing, which is actually all over the country. It's not localized to like one area. Kind of the same concept. People would actually think that they hit her like running down the side of the road, and then they get out and she's gone, or she would be stopped and they would pick her up for hitchhiking, and then she would just disappear once she got to a certain point.
Exactly.
And it supposedly, I believe in the legend, it's like if you don't pick her up, something bad is supposed to happen to you.
Oh, really?
And since you're nice enough to pick her up, then nothing does.
So do they think, in this area, the one you're talking about, is there any clue or legend of who it's supposed to be?
I was just getting to that.
Okay.
So there's two possible people that they think this is. I'm probably going to butcher their names, but Mary Bogovary, who died in 1934 in a car accident. The only problem with this is the ghost is said to have had blonde hair where this woman had dark hair. Right. And then Anna Maria Norcus died in 1927, a car accident on her way home from the O. Henry Ballroom. This one makes more sense to me personally. Just the fact that she was at dances at the ballroom. She dies on her way home from it. There have been stories too where a cab driver picked her up in the middle of the winter. She's obviously cold and very out of sorts, and by the time she gets closer and closer to the cemetery, she's more alive, and then all of a sudden, stop, and then she disappears. So one of the legend goes is that this woman was at a dance with her boyfriend or whatnot, got into a fight, and left and decided rather she'd walk home in the cold in the middle of winter than have to ride with this guy home. And she was hit on the way home from wherever she was.
By the boyfriend?
No, just by a random person. So, or it's one of these women here too. So
right.
There's many legends, but obviously many sightings of this woman over the last, close to 80 years.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Even more just getting into legend stuff, the whole thing with ghosts is they're attached to either one place or one object or whatnot, and you would technically have to come back. You have to be back at whatever that safe haven is before sunlight.
Or that death echo that you talk about where things just kind of reverberate in time.
But that's supposed to be one instance that happened. So
But yeah, well, who's to say that she's living the same night over and over and over again?
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Groundhog Day.
Yeah, but you're dead.
Yeah,
that sucks.
But yeah, believe in that stuff. They say that the reason that is because she was never able to pass over.
Right.
Because she died a violent death or an accident. It was, It wasn't her time to go at the time, and she wasn't able to pass over to the other side. If you believe into that stuff.
And if you think okay, so she's in her 20s and the 30s, it's now the 70s, roughly 40 years. So, she's 60s. Maybe the reason that there was a lot of sightings of her in the 70s was because she was, near the time that she was supposed to die. And, that's one thought that I had too.
I don't know, man. There's just, like you said, when you get the police involved, it brings a lot more like validity to what's going on.
Yeah, it does. It always does. I mean, when when they bring the police in, I don't know. I start wondering, because I'm not calling the police for a prank. I mean, I know people do it, but these are these are adults that they feel that they hit someone. If you think you hit someone, that's a pretty drastic thing.
Yeah, man, that'd be cool if it had happened more recently, because I'd love to see like pictures of the burn marks or something like that. But obviously, when did that one happen?
1976.
Oh, so you would think they would have had pictures then?
Sure. Oh yeah.
And even when you're going back to the police thing, on September 5th, a young man was leaving a softball game and driving down Archer Avenue. As he passed the Red Barrel restaurant, he spotted a young woman standing on the side of the road in a white dress. He stopped the car and offered her a ride, and she accepted, asking that he take her down Archer. She tried to draw into the conversation, and jokingly she looked like Resurrection Mary, but she was not interested in talking. He tried several times to get her to stop for a drink, but she never replied. He was driving past the cemetery when, never having stopped or even slowed down, when he looked over and she saw that the girl was gone. There was something here too about where the police were called. Oh, okay. It says on the last weekend of August in 1980, Mary was seen by dozens of people, including a deacon of the Greek church on Archer Avenue. Many witnesses contacted the Justice of Police Department about their sightings. Squad cars were dispatched, and although the police could not explain the mass sighting of the young woman, who was not present when they arrived, they did find the witnesses themselves. Many of them flagged down the officers to tell them what they had just seen. So, it'd be interesting to find the police blotter on stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure something like that they explained away by claiming mass hysteria.
Yeah, but
you know what,
Deacon
though?
of a Greek church?
That's true too, but I mean, the fact that this woman or this entity or whatever it is has gotten into cars with people and disappeared, that's what spooks
And
the
that's
hell out
not
of
just one story. I mean, you add all those others to everything else you just read.
me. There's commonplace in them.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know. I'd like, I've been to Chicago a couple of times, but never down this way. Maybe I'll have to make a stop there the next time I go. I ain't gonna pick anybody up. I don't think my wife would like that either.
It's just a ghost chick.
Well, if she disappears after the car ride, who cares, right?
Well, that's it for this week's episode. If you like what you saw, please like, share, subscribe, and comment below. I'm John Wadzinski. From The Mistake on the Lake, this is Type 3 TV. Over and out.